Just single inverted.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we have to start from page 69, last paragraph. Alex took the little emperor off the mantelpiece. Mantelpiece, I told you yesterday, what is the mantelpiece? The shelf, the little shelf above the fireplace is known as the mantelpiece. In his Cadogan Gardens flat and stared down at its delicate handicraft. At least having the grace to feel a little sad at the loss of the family heirloom. So he was, no matter how big a black sheep he was, right? But still he felt some pinch while departing from that family heirloom. At least he had that much courtesy to feel that pinch, to feel that pain while selling that family heirloom. Right? Though he didn't do anything worthwhile for his family's name, for the reputation of his family, right? He was just a big waste, right? So he wasted everything. He was a spendthrift, a gambler. So he was no good quality he had. But still, in spite of all these things, he felt some kind of pinch while parting with that family heirloom. He then drove to Bond Street and delivered the masterpiece to Sotheby's, giving instructions that the emperor should be put up for auction. So then he went to Sotheby's. I told you who are these Sotheby's. They are an MNC now and originally based in UK, right? And so they hold auctions for handicrafts and all these jewelry, all these things, antique things. The head of the Oriental department. Now, what do you mean by Oriental? Give me the meaning of Oriental, and then I'll ask you the meaning of Occidental. See, Oriental means anything which is related to the East. The statue was related to the eastern part of the world, right? China. So, the head of the Oriental department. So, obviously, the head of the Oriental department, working with the Sotheby's, a pale, thin man appeared at the front desk to discuss the masterpiece with Alex. So, when he went to Sotheby's, then to sell his statue to because he wanted to that statue to be put up for auction. Then the person who was the head of the Oriental department. Why will the head of the Oriental department contact? Because the statue was something which was related to the eastern part of the world. The statue belonged to China, originated in China. So the head of the Oriental department will talk to Alex, looking not unlike the Ming statue he was holding so lovingly in his hand. And so he resembled the Ming statue. Maybe he also must have been a Chinese, so he resembled the Ming statue which he was holding in his hand. That person, that head of the Oriental department, while holding the Ming statue in his hand, he resembled the statue, right? Maybe because of the similar features. Chinese, they had similar features. They have similar features. In fact, they look the same. So yes, I was asking you the meaning of Occidental. Occidental means related to the West. Okay? Anything which is related to the West or belongs to the West, that is Western part of the world, that is Occidental. And the things which are related to the Eastern part of the world, that is Oriental. Right? It will take a few days to estimate the true value of the piece. He purred. Purred means they spoke in a very soft voice, right? When you purring, a cat purrs means a continuous sound, not very loudly, right? Like a murmur. So he murmured in a very soft voice, soft continuous voice. So that is purring. So he said that it will take some time. It will take a few days to find out the real value of that statue. But I feel confident on the cursory glance. What is the cursory glance? Cursory glance is a very quick glance, a very short glance, right? At the first look. So even the head of the Oriental department said that while looking at the statue, while just giving it a cursory glance, while just giving it a quick and a short glance, I can say that the statue is as fine an example of penque as we have ever had under the hammer. Ever had under the hammer means as we have ever had for auction, right? So The statue is one of the finest example of the art of Penque, right? Penque, you know, is the name of a sculptor, right? He was a craftsman living in the 15th century. So he said that while looking at the statue, while giving a quick glance at the statue, I can say that it is one of the finest examples of Penque's art, as we have ever had under the hammer, as we have ever had in the past for auction. That's no problem, replied Alex, as long as you can let me know what it's worth within 15 days, within 14 days. Why 14 days? Because you remember he got a warning that he should repay his debt, the money which he owes, within 14 days. So Alex replied to that head of the Oriental department that it doesn't matter, it's not a problem. You can take some time to find the real value of the statue as long as you are able to tell me within 14 days. Then it's fine. Oh, certainly, replied the expert. I feel sure I could give you a floor price by Friday. Floor price, what is the floor price? Floor price is the lowest price that a seller will accept, right? Like if I have to sell this book, then I will first decide the floor price. Means I'm not going to sell this book for less than that price. That will be the floor price. Okay. So he said that don't worry, I will be able to give you the floor price, means the minimum selling price for this statue by Friday. Couldn't be better, said Alex. So Alex said that yes, that would be great, and then he left. During that week, he contacted all his creditors, and without exception, they were prepared to wait and learn the appraisal of the expert. So what did he do? What did Alex do? He went back and he contracted all the people who had given him money, who have loaned him some money. So he contacted all of them and told them about the statue and when he will get the money. Alex duly returned to Bond Street on Friday with a large smile on his face. And because he was also very hopeful that he will get some good amount for that statue. And so he, on Friday, he came to the office of Sotheby's with a big smile on his face. He knew what his great-great-grandfather had paid for the piece and felt sure that the statue must be worth more than 10,000 pounds. So he was estimating that the statue must be somewhere around 10,000 pounds. That would be the value of that statue. That would be the current price of that statue. This is what he was hoping. Why? Because he must have heard the story of the amount which his grandfather paid for the statue. You remember 3 years emoluments he had to pay to get that house constructed. So the price which his grandfather paid for the statue, he was aware of this fact, and so he estimated that the current price of the statue should be something around 10,000 pounds. A sum that would not only yield him enough to cover all his debts, but leave him a little over to try out his new refined system of roulette table. So he thought that if he gets 10,000 pounds, what will he do? He will not only be able to repay all his debts will be repaid. The money which he has taken from his creditors, that he will be able to pay, and not only that, there will be some money still left with him to go and play roulette again with some new refined technique of winning. Right? You remember it has been told that he used to, every time he used to come up with a refined technique of gambling, but all his refined techniques, they failed, and he was submerged in debt. So still there will be some money left in spite of paying the money, paying all his debts. He will be left with something to play some more roulette with his new refined technique. As he climbed the steps of the Sotheby's, Alex silently thanked his great-great-grandfather. And as he was climbing this stairs, right, going to the office of the Sotheby's, he, in his heart, deep down within his heart, he was thankful and showing his gratitude towards his great grandfather. He asked the girl on reception if he could speak to the head of the Oriental department. She picked up an internal phone and the expert appeared a few moments later at the front desk with a somber look on his face. With a somber look on his face means with a serious look, with a very grave and a very serious look. He asked the receptionist to call the head of the Oriental department, and when the head of the Oriental department came, he had a very serious expression on his face. Alex's heart sank as he listened to his words. And the moment he heard his words, his heart sank, means he became very sad on listening to the words of the head of the Oriental department. A nice little piece, your emperor, but unfortunately a fake. So, what did he say? He said that the statue was it's a brilliant piece. No doubt the statue is very beautiful, but it is not the real statue. Rather, it is a fake one. It is an imitation of the statue made by PenQ. It is not the real statue. Probably about 200, 250 years old, but only a copy of the original. So it was just a copy of the original statue made by PenQ, and it was just 200 or 250 years old. I'm afraid copies were often made and then he started, because he was the head of the Oriental department, so he started explaining to Alex that I'm very sorry, but these type of copies were made. And before he was able to complete his sentence, Alex interrupted. And what did he say? How much is it worth? So he was not interested in whether the copies were made or not. As it is, he was depressed on coming to know the reality of the statue. So he was not interested in knowing all the details. And so he said, how much is it worth? Interrupted and anxious. So he said, I'll leave all this. Just tell me what is the worth of this statue, this fake price, this fake statue. 700 pounds, 800 at the most. So he said that it will not sell for anything more than 700 pounds, at the most 800. Nothing more than 800 pounds. See what he was thinking of it. He was thinking that he will get somewhere around 10,000 pounds for that statue. And now the head of the Oriental department told him that he will not get anything more than 700 or 800 pounds for that statue. Enough to buy a gun and some bullets, thought Alex sardonically. So in a very sarcastic manner, he thought that what the hell will I do with this much money? Right? That money will be just enough for me to buy a gun and some bullets and shoot myself. As he turned and started to walk away. Then he turned and he started walking away. I wonder, sir, continued this expert. And then the expert had something more to say. Right? Though Alex was not interested in knowing anything further, but while he was turning and leaving, he said that this expert said something more. I wonder, sir. Yes, sell the bloody thing, said Alex without bothering to look back. So while moving, he didn't even bother to look back at the expert. He said, yes, sell that bloody thing. I don't need it. Right? So without bothering to look back, he didn't even bother to look back. And what do you want me to do with the base? So the head of the Oriental department said, and what is to be done to the base? The base, repeated Alex, turning around to face the Orientals. And then he said the base, and then he turned back and looked at the head of the department. Yes, the base. It's quite magnificent. 15th century. Undoubtedly a work of genius. I can't imagine how. So, because this head was not aware that the base has been fixed later on. Right? You remember the story of the base, how the base was fixed? Right? So he said, I don't know how. This is really very strange. Right? I'm still wondering. I'm surprised that the base is the real thing. The base is a magnificent 15th century base. So the base is original. The statue is an imitation. It is a fake one, but the base is original. Magnificent 15th century, undoubtedly a work of a genius. So the base is the work of a genius. I can't imagine how. And then he failed to understand. He expressed his surprise and shock over this fact that I don't know how did it happen, but the base appears to be an original piece, but the statue on which the base is fixed is an imitation. Sorry, the statue which is fixed on the base, that statue is an imitation. Lot number 103, announce the auction. And now from this paragraph, the story comes back to that auction scene. Right? You remember the story started with the auction, and then the writer said that I was very curious to know the history of that Chinese statue. Right? So this story went into kind of a flashback. And now the story comes back after telling the entire story how the Chinese statue happened to reach the auction room. He comes back to that auction hall. Lot number 103, announce the auctioneer. What am I to bid for this magnificent example of? The expert turned out, so then the auction was conducted. The expert turned out to be right in his assessment. At the auction at Sotheby's that Thursday morning, I obtained the little emperor for 720 guineas. So the narrator himself bought the Chinese statue. Right? The narrator was the buyer of the Chinese statue. After finding and after doing so much research, he bought the Chinese statue. And the head of the Oriental department was very correct. The statue was not the real one. It was a fake. It was an imitation of the original. Little Emperor for 700. And for how much it was sold? It was sold for 720 guineas. Right? And the base. That was acquired by an American gentleman of not unknown parentage. And then who bought the base? The base was bought by an American gentleman of not unknown parentage, means again belonging to the high class, right? That is why the parentage will be known by everyone, means belonging to a very renowned and a popular family. Parentage for 22,000 guineas, and the base of the statue was sold for 22,000 guineas. The statue was sold for 720 guineas. So with this, we come to the end of the story. There are two major themes of the story. The one theme is appearance versus reality. Right? Why appearance versus reality? Because the statue, they can ask you a question on this theme. How is the theme of appearance versus reality brought out in the story of the Chinese statue? So appearance versus reality. Why appearance versus reality is the major theme of the story? Because the statue, which appeared to be a masterpiece in the very beginning, even a person who studied so much about the Ming dynasty and so much about the Chinese culture, even that person didn't realize that it is not something original. Rather, it is a fake one. He also didn't really realize this. Was he able to realize? Was Sir Alexander able to realize? No. Even you can say even the craftsman who had so much knowledge about the Ming dynasty, he was a craftsman, he was an artist. He also didn't realize this fact that the statue is a fake one. It is just an imitation. And what was the reality of the statue? That it was a fake. It was just an imitation. So that was the reality. And what was the appearance? The appearance was of a masterpiece. So whatever appears may not be the real thing. And whatever, again, the same thing can be applicable for the base also. The base which was not praised by anyone throughout this story. The craftsman just searched one base and fixed it, right? The craftsman, though the craftsman found it to be a beautiful base, the one which was appropriate for that statue, but still, nobody, all the people who came to that place, wherever the statue was kept for display, whether it was in the drawing room of the Heathcote, on the mantelpiece, there also it was admired by the guests, whether it was at the mess at Halifax, there also it was admired by the soldiers. Then at the bishop's palace, it was admired. So nobody realized. People only heard the story and admired the statue, the carvings and everything. They praised everything about the statue. It was an imitation, right? So if you are asked asked the question to write about the appearance versus reality, you will start from the beginning. You'll start from the time this Mr. Heathcote is able to. Mr. Heathcote is posted in England. Sorry, in Peking, right? And how he had a very good knowledge of the Chinese statue. Still, he didn't realize how he happened to come across that Chinese statue. You will write, if it is a 15-mark answer, you will have to write everything. Right? First, you will tell that this Chinese statue, which appeared to be real one, which appeared to be made by Penq, and somewhere he even Mr. Heathcote even guessed the century when the statue was made. He said that it was a fine example of Penq made somewhere around the 15th century. Right? So, how he happened to come across that statue, and then how much he was fond of that statue. When he died, he even wrote in his will that the statue is not to be sold. He made a mention of the statue in his will also, that the statue will be sold only under one circumstance, and that was when the family's honor was at stake or at risk. Then only you can sell that statue. Otherwise, it will be just passed from one generation to another. And the eldest son of the family would inherit the statue. Right? So, appearance versus reality, you will talk about both. You will talk about the statue, how the statue appeared to be so great, which actually was not so, and how the base appeared to be so normal, which actually was not the reality. Right? So, taking into consideration these two facts, you will describe the entire journey of statue and the thing. So, this is the first and the major theme of Chinese statue. Then the next theme is love of art. Right? The story also talks about the love of art. There were three great lovers of art in this story. Who were they? The first one is Mr. Heathcote. The first lover of art we come across in the story is Mr. Heathcote. His love for art. He was something more than an amateur. As far as this Chinese art and especially art was concerned, especially the knowledge about Ming Dynasty. Right? You will have to quote the several examples. If the theme of love of art is asked in the question, you will have to discuss or take into account all the examples. How can you say that Mr. Heathcote was a great lover of art? You remember from the very beginning, he becomes very happy when he is told that he has to go to China. He is being posted to China. And this was the first point. The second point will be, once he is in China, he doesn't take any leave. Why? Because he wanted to make the maximum use of his time in trying to know more about the Chinese art. He doesn't take any leave in his 3 years term. You remember this? And then when he talks to this craftsman about this statue, the craftsman becomes very pleased to know that his knowledge of the Ming dynasty is revealed when he discusses, when he talks about it to the craftsman through the Mandarin, though, of course, right? Then the craftsman becomes very happy when he sees this fact that this man who is a foreigner has such a great and in-depth knowledge of the Ming dynasty. So this is the third example by which you can say that he was a great lover of art. Then he's mesmerized when he enters the workshop. You know, it's written that he could even spend a week there admiring those statues. He's completely lost in the beauty of those statues. Even at the palace also. He walks very slowly because he wanted to admire those ivory and jade statues which were placed there. These are the several examples which you will write. You cannot skip any of them. Right? And the moment he sees the Chinese statue, he's so much excited and he's so much lost that he commits one blunder, one undiplomatic blunder he commits. That he cannot resist his desire to possess that statue. It just comes out of his mouth that he wishes to have that statue. He wishes that the statue belongs to him. That comes out. So this again is an example of his love for art. Then his efforts to repay. He was not only a lover of art, he loved and respected the artisans also, the craftsmen also. Why? Because he decides to repay. He could have very nicely taken the statue and gone away, even if there was a Chinese tradition. So what? He was not a Chinese. Nobody can force him to follow Chinese tradition. But still he does that. Why? Because of his respect and love for artisans and craftsmen. Right? And then in the end, you can write about the will which he makes. That the statue is not to be disposed of or sold. Instead, it will be transferred from one generation to another, unless the family's honor is at stake. So these are 7, 8 points which you will get for Mr. Heathcote. Then the second lover of art was the craftsman. How can you say that the craftsman was a lover of art? This is how you are supposed to write your answer. If they ask you that the Chinese statue is the story about the love for art, then you will write about all these 3 people, which I have told you. This is how you are supposed to write a 20 mark, 15 marks answer. Your answers are very short. How can then the second lover of art in the story is Yung Lee, that craftsman. The first point, you will write that he belonged to the family of craftsmen, the famous and the trusted family of Yung Shao. You remember the Mandarin told Sir Heathcote when he inquired about the craftsmen. Then he gives him the detail that from the past 500 years they have been into this profession. Even some of their statues are placed in the palaces of the Mancha prince. That is also mentioned. So these are the facts. Please don't write generalized answers. You will get very normal marks for that. Then, when Sir Alexander visits his workshop, and he is very happy to know that the knowledge of Sir Alexander about the Ming dynasty, and he is very happy when Sir Alexander admires and praises his craftsmanship and talks about the Ming dynasty. One lover of art recognizes another lover of art. So this happens. Then he even gifts his statue. Why? He says that I'll be very happy that now this statue will be admired in your country. People of your land will admire our art. He says this. So you will make a mention of this point also. Right? That is why he fixes the base. He says that I need to fix the base. Otherwise, you will not be able to put it on display for people to admire. So these are the points which prove that the craftsman was also a lover of art. When he comes to know the in-depth knowledge of Sir Alexander about the Ming dynasty, it is only then that he goes to his home and brings that statue, the statue which was the craftsman's heirloom. It had been in his family from the past 7 generations. At least he knew this fact. He considered it to be a fact that the statue has been in his family from the past 7 generations. Right? Then the narrator's love for art. You again cannot ignore that also. If the statue is about love of art, then narrator cannot be ignored. Because the narrator is present at the auction to buy something from that auction, then the narrator's curiosity that he makes a research of the origin of the statue. He was so curious. The moment he looked at the statue, he became very curious to know the history of that statue. When do you become curious about something? Only when you are interested. When you like to do something, when you love something, then only you will be curious to know more and more about it. Right? So that is why. This is how you can prove that the narrator's love for art or his interest in art. Then the last point for the narrator would be what? That he ultimately bought that statue in spite of knowing the fact that it is just an imitation, because he admired the beauty and the skill which was used in making this statue. No doubt the statue was a wonderful piece of art. Right? Even though it was fake. But till now, the people admired it by thinking of it to be the real thing. So that means it was very close to reality. Even you remember, even the head of the Oriental department didn't realize. Head of the Oriental department means he was an expert. Even the expert on a cursory glance failed to realize the reality of the statue. Only after further investigations, he came to know that the statue was a fake one. When he gave a cursory glance to the statue, he was dealing in those things. But still, he also failed to realize. So what does it tell us? It tells us that the statue was actually so beautiful, made by some skilled artist. Is it clear? So these were the themes of the story. 2 major themes which I have discussed. I hope you understood.